Upload the data to the Bat computer in the movie studios when you're ready.
Yes, sir. In the meantime, there are numerous open cases yet to be investigated.
Alright gamers, you are watching and listening to another episode of What You Gaming On, the video where every episode we begin by asking you, the viewer, the listener, what are you gaming on? Tell me what you're gaming on, what game you're playing, what you like about it, what you don't like about it, and send it to me in either the comments of this video, on any of my social media, or at my email, whatyougamingon@gmail.com, and your answer will be featured in an upcoming episode of What You Gaming On. And today I want to talk about, I've been gaming on Batman Arkham Knight. I have to admit, as big of a Marvel fan as I am, as I have become with just the entirety of the MCU, as much as I love Marvel, if you ask me who my favorite superhero is, it's going to be cliche, it's going to be kind of stereotypical, but I'm going to say Batman. And it's not just because he's just this badass superhero. I like Batman because he really is a detective. He has to use his brains just as much as he has to use his brawn. He investigates what's going on. He finds out the best way to deal with them. He really is just, he's one of those just very incredibly intelligent superheroes that, yes, he does kick a lot of ass. Yes, he's this big badass superhero, but just as much as he's a big badass, he's also a very intelligent and very smart and deducting kind of character, and I like that. I like that kind of superhero. So playing Batman Arkham Knight, where you actually get to be the Batman, or in any of the other Batman, in any of the other Batman Arkham games, like Arkham, there's Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Origins, which is kind of not, like, I don't know, people don't, I liked Arkham Origins, but it's not it's not considered one of, like, the big Arkham games. Like, when they brought back the Return to Arkham collection for the Xbox One, Arkham Origins was not there. I think it was because it was by another studio, and there was something with there that they couldn't add it to it. I don't know the exact details of it, but I liked Arkham Origins. But Arkham Knight, probably definitely my favorite installment of the Batman Arkham series, and I truly believe that the Batman Arkham series is one of the best adaptations and representations of Batman outside of the comics. And yes, I'm saying that with full knowledge that there's Batman the Animated Series and the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight series and Batman Beyond. There's all these really, truly amazing stories of Batman, but in my opinion, I really think Batman Arkham is one of the best representations of it, and it really is just it's very much like the Batman animated series, but it's mature. So for all the gamers who were little kids watching Batman the Animated Series, like, now we're grown up and we're playing Batman Arkham, and it really is just like a more mature, more grown up version of Batman the Animated Series, and I love that. And one of the best parts about this game is that you really do get to explore the kind of intellectual side of Batman, that he's not just fighting off bad guys, he's setting up crime scenes, he's investigating what's going on, he's trying to find out, the causes and the best way to deal with these things. It really is, in the Arkham series, it really does showcase the detective aspects of Batman, and I love that. And it's one of the reasons that I love this series, and especially Arkham Knight, which I think is the best installment of the series, because it's like all of the best parts of the Batman Arkham series just in one final game. And there's been rumors that they're going to be making another Batman Arkham game, but those rumors, like, I haven't heard anything else since hearing them over a year ago. Like, there was going to be another Batman game that kind of takes place between Origins and Arkham Asylum, where you got to, like, not only drive the Batmobile, but also fly the Batwing in different areas of Gotham City. And it sounded really cool, but again, these were just rumors that were circulating, so I don't know any real substantial news coming out of that, if it would be Rocksteady who are doing another Batman Arkham game, or if it's going to be, like Arkham Origins, another studio that would be doing it. I don't know. As far as I know for sure, as far as has been confirmed, there's no new news about a new Batman Arkham game. I don't think there should be. I think the game really ended on a really strong note for the Batman series, and if they do another superhero game, I would like them to do something else aside from Batman. But if you haven't played it, like I said, there's a lot of really detective and investigating elements and a lot of environmental puzzles in Batman Arkham, but fighting is a big part of it. And the fighting style, you could almost compare it to the fighting style of, say, Assassin's Creed, where you're attacking, but you're also reacting to counters and reaction commands and doing some different blocking. And then, like, it'll set up kind of a button mash sequence that you have to hit the right time. It's a lot of fun. If you haven't played the Batman Arkham series, I highly suggest you go check them out. Any of the games for Batman Arkham are, in my opinion, they're all fantastic. So there is a linear storyline between Arkham Asylum and Arkham Knight, whereas Arkham Origins is kind of its own thing that kind of highlights the beginning of both Batman and the Joker, which is another reason I like Batman Arkham Origins, because it shows us a different Batman than we're used to seeing. He's a much more raw Batman. He's a lot more fresher or newer to the Gotham crime scene, and he's not the stalwart Batman that we've come to know. Like he's kind of crossing lines because he hasn't gotten to that point where he's decided not to cross those lines of brutality. And then you also have a really interesting kind of origin story arc for the Joker in Batman Gotham Origins. So yeah, if you haven't played Batman Arkham Origins or any of the Arkham series, go check them out. They're fantastic. I know Batman Arkham Knight is on the Xbox One and the PS4, and they not just released, like in the last year, they released the Return to Arkham series that was Arkham Asylum and Arkham Origins. So go check them out. They're a lot of fun to play. I love them. I don't have enough good things to say about them. I think they're a great series. But playing this game, it makes me want more superhero video games. Now, of course, since 2008, we have been in just the truly golden age of superheroes between movies and TV shows. Like, superheroes have been the big thing in pop culture for the last 10 years. Whether you like it or not, that's just a fact. It is something that has just taken over so many different aspects of pop culture. But the things that they haven't taken over just yet are video games. Now, whether superheroes taking over video games would be a good thing or not, I don't know. But I would like to see more superhero video games. Now, there are already, at least in, let's focus on this generation of gaming, because there's, of course, older video games for superheroes way back, way back ago. But like for this current generation of video games with the Xbox One and the PS4, let's talk about this generation of games, and we haven't had all that many super strong superhero games. Now, we of course had the Batman Arkham series, which is a very strong superhero video game series. You've also had some other games that were very superhero-esque, like Infamous Second Son is a very superhero-styled game. You also have any number of the Lego games, like the Lego Marvel Superheroes or Lego Batman, where they really explore the entirety of the superhero universe for either DC or Marvel. You also got DC, what is it? DC Universe, where you get to create, it's an MMO, where you get to create your own superhero and go around Metropolis and Gotham and all the different places in the DC Universe. And then, of course, there was the MMO, they had it on PC, and then they brought it to consoles, the Marvel Heroes Omega. That was what they basically renamed it when they brought it to consoles, and it was a Marvel MMO where you got to pick your different superhero and go through the different zones of leveling, and it was a lot of fun, but unfortunately it wasn't as much fun as many people played it, and they've since shut it down, so you can't play it anymore, which is really sad. But if you like that game, I'm way behind on this one, but I'm recently playing Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2, and Marvel Heroes Omega was actually very similar to Marvel Ultimate Alliance. So go check those out, but I believe that was the PS3 generation when that game came out. But anyway, there aren't a lot in this generation aside from the Batman Arkham series. You also got the Deadpool game that came out a couple years ago, which was a lot of fun. Nothing wrong with it, but it wasn't, Batman Arkham, but it wasn't like, it couldn't stand next to the Batman Arkham series. But of course, we also have Spider-Man for PS4 coming out in just a couple months. So superheroes definitely aren't completely devoid of the video game arena, but they're not as prevalent as they are in movies and TV shows. Now, Now, another thing that's coming up in we don't know when, we don't know how, is Square Enix Avengers Project. It's either like the Avengers Project or the Avengers Initiative. I think it was the Avengers Project. That Square Enix is actually doing either one game or a series of games that focuses on the different Avengers. So that's something we have to look forward to, but it was announced a couple years ago, and since then we've heard nothing, which isn't abnormal for Square Enix, where they, release that they're doing this game, show us a trailer or something, and then we don't hear about it for years. So we'll see what happens with that. But right now there aren't a lot, and I do have a couple of ideas that I think would make for really good superhero games. Now, all of these ideas are it's not even speculation, it's merely hopeful thinking, something that I think would be really cool to see. It's also, all of the ideas I have are actually more focused on Marvel, because aside from Batman, the rest of my favorite superhero stuff is Marvel. Aside from Batman, I am definitely more of a Marvel fan than a DC fan. So I just have a few ideas, starting with Black Panther. Now, Black Panther, with the success of the Black Panther film, a Black Panther video game has been talked about among different writers and video game developers. Nothing concrete has come of it. As far as I know, there are no plans for one, but it is something that a number of people kind of up in that area or level of development that could make a decision to do that have talked about the possibility of doing it. And personally, I think if they did a Black Panther game, it could actually be really similar to Batman Arkham Knight. Not that it would take place in Gotham, not that it would be as brooding as Batman or as gothic as Batman and Gotham can be, but definitely the play style and the kind of style of video game it would be very similar to Black Panther. He would have like an area of Wakanda, and that would be just this open world that he could run around, explore in, definitely have some environmental puzzles going on, definitely getting new tech from Shuri through Vibranium. So I definitely can see a lot of parallels happening between a Black Panther game and Batman Arkham, and I think that would be really cool. The next idea I have is for a Punisher game, and it's actually the exact opposite of what a Black Panther game would be. Instead of it being open world, it would be more of a streamlined third-person cover shooter. I would actually compare it best to being a game much like Gears of War, that very brutal, bloody, violent video game, third-person shooter where you're Frank Castle, you're the Punisher, and you're going through this story where you're not making the decisions in the story. It's not an RPG. It's not, any kind of RPG element. You're just basically shooting and killing your way through this story, through some brutal combat finishers, some brutal weapons. Like if the Punisher had the Lancer from Gears of War, he'd be unstoppable. And I think that would be a really cool game to see. Despite the fact that I just really think Gears of War is a great series, I would love to see a kind of Gears of War-esque game, but for Frank Castle as the Punisher. So my next idea is for Thor, and this might actually be a little on the nose when I talk about what kind of game this would be, but I think it's the best idea for a game in the Thor universe, and it would actually be a lot like the most recent God of War. Now, yes, like I said, that's very on the nose, especially since the most recent God of War game explores Norse mythology, has a lot to talk about Thor, and then even as far as we've seen in the first game is that Thor will be a character, be either some kind of adversary or some kind of character in the next God of War game in this new trilogy for God of War. So yes, it's very on the nose saying that a Thor game would be like God of War, but I think that would be a really good idea. You'd be going around, much like in God of War, it's kind of this open world thing where you're going from realm to realm of the 9 realms including Midgard and Asgard and all of the other different guards and spheres and all the other different realms of the 9 realms of Norse mythology by using the Bifrost. And then even the mechanics of God of War. If you just put Thor in the place of Kratos and and Mjolnir in the place of his Frost axe, in the place of the Leviathan axe, you have a Thor game. He's throwing Mjolnir, he's calling it back. It's still that same kind of setting. I really do think that would be just the best idea for a Thor game. Now, talking about another one of the original Avengers is Captain America. So, Captain America, I kind of had trouble trying to decide what kind of game a Captain America game could look like, and I finally settled on it would look a lot like Tomb Raider, like the most recent Tomb Raider games, what was it, Tomb Raider and then Rise of the Tomb Raider, where it's that kind of, it's kind of a mix of a lot of different games. You have stealth elements, you have gun combat, you have environmental puzzles, you have melee combat. It's just, it's kind of like just a mix of all these different kinds of games, and I think that would work really well for the kind of variation of styles that Captain America has. Like, yes, he can fight hand-to-hand combat, he can throw the shield, he can also use guns when he needs to. He also works both in stealth and both just kicking down the front door and kicking ass when he gets there. So just a game like that would be almost like Tomb Raider, or you could even say it'd be like Uncharted, where it is that kind of mix between environmental puzzles, stealth gameplay, and melee and gun gameplay. So I think that would really work. Now, finally, my last idea is for a Guardians of the Galaxy game, and bear with me on this one, because we already have a Guardians of the Galaxy game. It's a Telltale game that I haven't finished because I get to a part and it glitches out, and I don't know what's wrong with it. I think I need to re-download it or something. But anyway, there's of course already a Telltale game that is mostly just focused on story elements because it's Telltale. That's the kind of games they make. That kind of basically, it's basically a choose your own adventure kind of video game where you pick your decision and what you want to do. But I would love to see an actual, like, action-packed mechanics gameplay for Guardians of the Galaxy, and there's two options we could see from this. I think Guardians of the Galaxy could definitely work as just a party management third-person cover shooter, a lot like Mass Effect, where you're choosing which of the Guardians you want to go with you when you leave your ship. You go on your mission, you do your shooting, and each one you're leveling them up how you want to level and the powers you want them to have, and you're basically leveling up, and it really would be very much like a Mass Effect game. You would even be on your ship building your connections and your relationships with your different crewmates or with the different Guardians and talking to them about how did you feel about that mission and what could we have done well, and then have little notifications at the top corner where you do something that says Gamora didn't like that or Drax loved that. So I definitely think it could work as a kind of Mass Effect BioWare third-person shooter, but I also think that it would really work, as I mentioned it before, as a kind of top-down strategic party management game like Marvel Ultimate Alliance or like Diablo or like Dragon Age, where you get that really top-down experience. You can decide where you want your party members to go, what you want their tactics to be in the game, and you kind of manage how they play, kind of looking down at this top-down kind of board. And I think that would be really cool. You would still get to choose your party of if you want to go out with Rocket and Groot or Rocket and Gamora or Gamora and Drax or Drax and Groot or Groot and Mantis, whichever Guardians you want to choose, you still get to choose from your party, but it would just be that top-down kind of game. I think that would be really cool. Now, like I said, all of this is, I'm not basing any of this on insider information because I obviously don't have that. I don't know if there are any plans for more superhero games in the pipeline. I kind of have a feeling that if Spider-Man PS4 is really successful, we'll start seeing more superhero games, but we haven't gotten there yet, so we'll see what happens with that. But I do think that I think these ideas are really solid. I would love to see the different superheroes in these kinds of games and more. Like, there's definitely more superheroes I would love to see more of in video games. I think it would be really cool to, not only are you getting the chance to see your favorite heroes in TV shows and movies, you're finally getting a chance to be able to play just the huge roster of heroes that we have to work with in a future Marvel or DC or whatever superhero kind of universe for video games. But now I want to hear from you. So what did you think of Batman Arkham Knight or the Arkham series? And what do you think about these ideas for more superhero games? Do you have any ideas of your own that you think would make a really good superhero video game? Let me know in the comments and follow me on all the internets. If you want to read any of my written reviews of video games or Marvel TV shows or movies, go to www.treyguillotine.com. And remember, if you want your answer to be featured in an upcoming video of What You Gaming On, Let me know the game you're playing, what you like about it, what you don't like about it. Let me know in the comments on any of my social media or at my email, whatyougamingon@gmail.com. And keep on gaming, gamers.